Okay, in this one we're going to do a little bit of cleanup on our silhouette so we kind of match our go by a little bit better. For most of what we see we're okay, but when we look at like the tapering of the legs, kind of a belly and the back here and where the tail is going to go and so on and so forth. The hands and the arms, they need to be rounded out a little bit more, and then the legs for sure. So this is the biggest offender, the feet and the legs. So we'll kind of start with them. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take and we're going to right click and we're going to grab this edge from the top of the leg. So kind of see that, and then shift, double click, and then over here, same thing. In the back, same thing. So I pick that first edge, shift, holding shift, double click. Okay, so now I've got that. I'm going to hit R, and I just want to scale this in a little bit, about like that. I'm going to double click this edge, shift, double click this, shift, double click that, and then we got to get that interior edge here, shift, double click. I'm going to hit R and scale that straight. I'm going to now take, with that edge still selected, and I want to scale this in significantly. So it's going to look a little weird at first, but that's about how much I want to scale it in. So you just kind of eyeball it and do it the same. And then I'm going to double click this edge. I'm going to scale it straight all the way across. And then I'm going to scale it uniformly down. So I'm looking at it uniformly. And then what I want to do is I want to have it actually, as well as the dimension from the front to the back of the leg, so those edges there, a little bit skinnier. So I'm going to have it about like that. Shift, double click, scale again, uniformly scaling, kind of looking at it from the front. That looks pretty good, just making sure we're straight here, and then scaling from the side. And this one can be a little bit bigger, scaling again uniformly till it looks pretty close, and then scaling down, and then scaling out actually a little bit from the front. And that looks pretty good. Again, scale straight down. I'm going to hit W, pull this up just a small amount, and then pull it in. Double click, pull that up, double click, pull that up. Okay, so I'm actually going to pull this down again, just a titch. I'm going to right click, I'm going to grab these two vertices. So Q here and here, I'm going to hit R, and we're going to keep things nice and even, scale it, and then push it over just a little bit. And that way, because this part of our character is really going to be one of those areas that is easy for it to just get really tough for the articulation it has to do. It's a tough area for rigging. I'm going to grab these two edges here, and actually what I want to do is I want to grab this vert and this vert. I'm going to hit R and scale that in, grab these two guys as well as these two guys and scale them in just a titch. And now you can see here in the back, these guys are a little off. So you kind of push them in a little bit. So that's actually where the character's butt's going to be. We're going to select, I'm going to do a better job of selecting. So I'm going to select right here, and I'll pull that out just a little bit. Same thing here. I want to pull this out just a little bit. And then I'm going to actually click here, shift click here, and pull that out a little bit. So we're trying to round it out a little bit to get the form a little bit more rounded. Grab this edge or that vert and just kind of make it fit a little bit better now, that curvature. The butt hanging out a little bit too much is okay, and actually we're going to do it a little bit more, so I'm going to grab these guys and push them out. Q if the move tool gets in the way, W back to the move tool. Okay. So that's not too bad. I want to pick this face. I'm going to shift, double click. It's going to pick all of those faces there. I'm going to hit R, and I just want to scale that out slightly. Pick here, shift, double click, W, and then push this out. So we're just trying to make our silhouette a little bit stronger. We're going to deal with this, but for now I think we're okay. I'm going to click this edge, shift, double click that edge, pull it out just a small amount. Right click vertex and just adjust any vertices now that you see that need adjusting. So I'm going to pick all the way down the foot here. So that whole thing right there. It goes all the way up into the hand, so I'm going to Control deselect all that. Keeping it right here though, so I'm deselecting anything at the top, but I'm keeping all that. I'm going to hit R and scale it straight, W, and pull it about like that. So click here, Shift double click, and again Control deselect. Anything at the top, Control deselect. R, scale it straight, W, position. Here, I'm going to pull this over a small amount. And then again, I'm going to try this, click, and then I'm going to try and go all the way to here, double click. If you can get that, that's great. If not, you can just double click it and deselect like I did in the other ones. Scale W and then push back. And then now I'm going to double click these guys here for the feet. So this is that set right here. And I got one more vert I've got to pick up here. So this top one. And then what I want to do is I want to get all these in between. So click and then Shift double click, R, scale straight, W, and then pull back all the way to there. And then you should have some rounded out edges here. So you should have some edges that are helping us. They're not straight up and down, perfectly straight up and down. They're going to be more along the lines of kind of helping us round out our character. So I'm going to grab all of these guys here in the front as well as this. And we're going to get a little bit more of a belly. Same thing. And then just Control, just selecting these front three. So we have Control deselect, a little bit more of a belly. And then just sort of positioning things as you think needs be. Alright, so that's a better silhouette overall. Let's work on the feet now. So I'm going to take these guys and kind of pull them a whole lot closer. We're probably going to be able to get rid of this, actually, to be honest. And then I'm going to take these guys, and the distance I think is okay from here to here, but they definitely need to come up. So this stuff here has to come up because it's definitely a more rounded looking foot, so something like that. I'm going to take, and now we're going to come back here in the back. I'm going to target weld, click off so you don't have any extra verts picked. I'm going to select this and just cut, or just get rid of that. And so what I did was I target welded, but I had it on center. Not target, but center. So undo it and do it on target. Do it on center, not target. Same thing here. And that's going to help us round out, and then also to give us a triangle that we're going to use up here for this triangle when we cut out, when we start to edge loop. I'm going to double click this all the way around like that. I'm going to hit R and then flatten that out. Okay, so right click vertex, I'm going to select these vertices, W, and position them a little bit more like that. Grab all those now and sort of position them a little bit more like that. Grab that guy, and then here, same thing, I'm just going to grab that corner and kind of do that. Now I'm going to grab these and pull them forward. Select this and just kind of distribute this a little bit more evenly. These two guys in the front, we're going to lift them up a little bit like that. I'm going to pick Q, this, click, double click that, so pick this vert, double click, pick this vert, double click, all the way down the leg, on the interior as well. So that might be kind of hard to do with a go-bys on. Go into the channel box, layer editor here, and then for our, turn off our modeling toolkit, and that's the channel box. Our channel box is actually sitting up here. Yours will be the same, but we're looking for not the attribute editor. My attribute editor got moved when I was adjusting those things, but we want the layer editor. So this is channel box and then layer editor, which is this guy here. And what we want to do is we want to go to display, not animation. I'm going to turn this off. So I hit the V next to the go by layer, and then now we can actually see our character. So we've got those selected inside there, so I'm going to hold shift and then double click, hold shift, double click. Okay, now R, and we're just going to kind of try and make that nice and even. Just going to adjust these a little bit as we go up the character. So any vertices you see. Okay, so that's a little bit better than what we had before, silhouette-wise too. So it's looking pretty good. I would say that the only thing we got really left to do is down here. So I'm going to take and double-click this edge, do the same thing, flatten it out, and then we're going to flatten the bottom of our character's feet. So I'm going to select all the vertices on the bottom like this, and then scale them straight so that our feet are perfectly straight. And then that looks pretty good. I'd say up here at the top we're pretty close to being what we want for the arms. The arms, though, I do believe need to be significantly smaller. So in order to do that, we're going to have to cut in a couple of edges. So back to modeling toolkit, I'm going to take that and try and place that over here to the side. So like I said before, I should have never shown you guys about moving this stuff because it's just a disaster. Multi-hit. Okay, so now I'm going to hold down Control, I'm going to middle mouse, and then I'm going to hold down Control, and I'm going to middle mouse. And then now what we have, though, is I'm going to pick these faces in here. So I'm going to pick those faces, and I'm just going to hit R, and I'm going to scale these down like that, and then scale them in like that. So our character's arms are, if we turn our go by back on, are significantly smaller, right? And so we need that decrease in size. So from there to there. And I'd say that looks pretty good. I'm going to right-click, double-click this edge all the way around, Control-Delete, so it gives us a little bit more even topology there. And then I'm going to double-click this edge, Shift, double-click that edge, and just keep Shift double-clicking R and scale this down and then up. So I'm just trying to help it round out as well. Down and then up. Double-click, scale straight, W, move it over. Same thing, R, scale. We're going to leave that where it's at. I'm going to scale this straight. I'm going to take, and at the top here, Control deselect W, and then give it a little bit of a difference there. And this shoulder, I'm just going to pull over like that a little bit. Okay, so that was a lot of tedious stuff, but it's necessary. So just kind of look over your model, and you're just trying to match the silhouette of the character a little bit better, and just move some vertices around that you see need to be repositioned. Okay, so one more cut, and then back to modeling toolkit, multi-cut, Control, middle mouse, and that gives us that. All right, so one more here in the leg too. So middle mouse, click right there, and I have my edge flow on, so it's going to give me a little bit of a difference there. But on the whole, I think that's pretty close. So what we're going to do is a couple of edge loops here for the foot. So we have a triangle here and a triangle here, and we can just take and cut. So I'm going to left mouse cut across like that and hit enter, and then W, or basically pick the vert and then W, kind of pull this in. And then now what we have is we've got an edge loop that goes all the way around our character, and they're all quads. So I'm going to shift double click R, scale it straight, W, and kind of pull it up. And then here across the top, I'm going to click here and then go down to this one down here, double click. R is really important. This is the toe. So click, shift, double click, and scale. And that's the toe. The toe is actually going to be articulated, so we're going to need that to actually be straight, that edge. I'm going to pick this up, and I'm just going to kind of pull that up so it's a little bit more rounded. I'm going to turn off our go-bys again. And then on this side, on the interior here, we're going to do sort of the same thing, but I want to grab these three edges, or these three verts, and I want to round this out a little bit better. I'm going to shift and grab those and pull that way. Kind of round this a little bit more. So this is sort of a shape you see for a simplified character, this foot. So grabbing all these vertices here, you can see we got some work to do there. That triangulated them real quick. I don't know if you saw that, but that's what it looks like when it goes into a game engine. I'm going to pull this almost in line with these three. So it's almost going to be in line. Here I'm going to shift double click all the way over R and scale them straight. Notice it adjusted it significantly, right? W, and then pull this back so it's almost in line. Not quite, but almost. And then Control deselect these top ones. So we just have the bottom ones, and they're going to be a little bit more rounded out. Control deselect on this side and this side, and on this side kind of distribute it so that we get more of an evenness to it is all we're trying to do. Multi-select the very bottom, hit R, and then scale that like that. Now go back to Modeling Toolkit and then cut from this edge to that edge, and then now click, or rather click and then shift double click R, scale it straight W, and then pull it up R, scale it in just a little bit like that, and then scale it straight like that. Okay, so I'm just going to do a little bit of straightening here and there. You don't have to straighten it completely, you just want it a little bit neater and tidier than it is. And you can see that when you do that, though, you adjust where it starts to connect in. And you're always going to have little bits of differences, so between appendages and stuff, there's going to be a curvature in the topology or the flow of edges. It's just how it is. Right-click vertex, I'm going to select all the vertices for the arm and that shoulder part right here, and then shift this over just a small amount. Alright, so now the only thing left is the hand, and the hand's going to take a little bit, so we're going to take this and we're just going to do Mesh Display, Soften Edges, so we get a sense of it. It looks really pretty good, pretty close to what we have for our character's body. And in the next one, we're going to adjust the hand, we're going to make some toes, and then we're going to move on to the head. Alright, I'll see you in the next one.